as more people become awake and realize that we're being kind of manipulated in certain ways in order to control our energetic frequencies so that they can maintain control.
Hello there, beautiful beings. Welcome back to the Starseed Network podcast. I'm your host and personal spirit guide, Saule Ilona Vaida, bringing you with me on this journey of exploring our spiritual and human experience on Earth, speaking to incredible light workers and beings all around the world. So today I am so excited to share this incredible interview with Laura from Renew Your Alignment, who is a Galactic Akashic Records practitioner. So this is an incredibly fascinating conversation where we covered so many topics such as lifetimes beyond Earth, our galactic origins, stargates, soul memories, and all sorts of fascinating starseed and spiritual awakening topics. So if you're not yet subscribed to the podcast, please make sure to subscribe. We have new episodes coming out now every other week where we go deep into exploring our soul origins and the very human aspects of being a human on Earth. So we go from the greatest cosmos to the most mundane human experiences. So I'm so excited to share this episode with you guys. It was amazing, and the soul recognition between us was instant. So it's just such an amazing experience whenever you get to meet people and feel, wow, I know you from somewhere. So this is definitely one of those conversations, and so I invite you to sit back, relax, take part in these amazing codes and activations, galactic codes that are just streaming in. So let's dive in. Oh, wow. Yes. I'm so excited being here with you from Renew Your Alignment with Laura. And I just feel immediately you came on the screen and I'm like, I recognize you from somewhere. How do we know each other?
That's the amazing thing I think about the spiritualities. You just connect on that energetic level, and you just know, and I'm really enjoying kind of learning more and understanding what that means. Every time I kind of meet certain souls, like you can feel that resonance. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm so excited to hear about your story and what you said about our cosmic soul origins. So I'd love to know how you began going into this, what brought you into this field.
Yeah, it's been such an interesting journey because I think from a young age, I was very intuitive. I could kind of feel things. I would sometimes see things, and when adults kind of just like, yeah, that's not real. Just focus on your homework and all of these different things. And then for me, growing up, I kind of shut off my gifts a lot, mostly because I think I just realized that if you're in the playground with a group of children, they don't really want to hear about they're lying or they're telling the teacher something that's not quite true. So in the end, I kind of grew up thinking, okay, let's just stick to the rules. I want to fit in. I need to understand, the rules of this life. So I kind of just suppressed a lot of how I was feeling, which kind of made things more difficult growing up. But it wasn't until probably about, 6 years ago that I kind of thought something's going on. I'm having more dreams than normal. And the type of dreams that I have are like I will see something happen and then something will happen in a similar way. So I was starting to kind of recognize there's more to this. It's not just dreams that I'm having. I'll see things and I'll know, or prime example, COVID, and that kind of experience, which I'm sure a lot of starseeds during COVID I was just like, they're lying,
Yeah.
you know, just having this intense emotion about, but they're lying, you know, and there's something more going on. And then I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, am I falling into this, conspiracy theorist type thing? And I was like, no, there's something more going on here. So I started exploring it, and I was like, my work colleagues always used to kind of tease me about energy. I can kind of sense things with people. And that's when I thought, I'm going to look into spirituality a bit more and understand it. I had a reading done, and the lady said, oh, Reiki, you'd be really good at Reiki. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, fair enough. I explored Reiki. And yeah, it was like the floodgates opened.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So with the Reiki journey, I remember saying to my teacher, I've got all these dreams and they're not good dreams. And I'm
Mm.
having all these past life rememberings. She was really, really understanding, and kind of like, we've all had many lifetimes here, and the lifetimes that you're experiencing and the lifetimes that you're seeing are the parts that you need to look at and heal.
Mm.
And one of the lifetimes in particular, I was an oracle for a one of the pharaohs,
Mm.
and he wouldn't listen to anything that I would say, because it was like what I was saying was not what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended
Typical.
up, I mean, literally typical, you must tell me what's going to happen. Okay, this is what's going to happen if you do that. Okay, I don't want to hear that. Okay, that's what's going to happen. And lo and behold, it did. It's
Mm.
exactly what happened. And for me, it kind of, from that lifetime, and the fact that I was locked up after that, I was put in a
Mm.
dungeon, like all of that kind of negative experience around it. And then obviously the changes within Egypt that I didn't agree with.
Yeah.
It really changed for me my perception of, I have these gifts that I've come here with, and yet I'm being misused, and that fear, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So with that, I kind of healed that past life and kind of realized that, well, if this is what it's like for me, I wonder whatever, what else is out there? Who else has these kind of experiences, really? So I learned past life regression,
Mm.
and being able to help others revisit lifetimes so that they could heal those aspects. And then, even with the Reiki, introducing that sometimes into the sessions if they need to remove certain blocks if they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really good, because it really made me think, okay, so our earthly lifetimes are so intense, they're so particular for life
Mm-hmm.
lessons that we've come to learn.
Yeah.
But then I started looking at, okay, so galactic, I know there's more, because I didn't learn these gifts here.
Mm-hmm.
These gifts are from somewhere else.
Mm.
And that's when I discovered Debbie Solaris. So she does the Galactic Akashic Records readings. I really admired her kind of thought process of how important it is for us to learn more, understand ourselves more as beings, and then when I was doing her course, some of the videos that she creates as part of the course, where she's explaining the galactic lifetimes, the Orion Wars, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I just, yeah, it resonated so much, you know.
Mm. Wow, so fascinating. I love hearing this. And yeah, I can totally 100% relate on going through that process of healing all those past lives. And I'm really interested to hear about your galactic
Mm,
studies.
mm,
So, this is just a question that has come to mind. If you know anything
yeah,
about this, please.
yeah.
Where do our souls come from? Do you know? Like, where are
Mm.
our souls birthed from? How are we coming into existence. So I'd love to hear if you have any insights on that. That just came through to ask you.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is that I've been learning, especially since doing a Galactic Akashic Records reading, everybody is so different and it's beautiful
Mm.
because some souls, their first physical incarnation is within this galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other souls whose first incarnation is from other galaxies and they traveled through.
Mm-hmm.
So we all, belong to source. We all belong to God. We all, existed in this, energetic space before we decided to incarnate into galaxies to do certain works, to gain knowledge, understanding, you know, kind of have these exciting journeys. I know for myself, traveling to the Milky Way galaxy and kind of living within the galaxy and having different lifetimes. Each planet's a different energy. Each star system's a different energy, you know. So, I think for yourself, Sauli, I definitely feel from you, you've had galactic lifetimes because you've
Mm-hmm.
just got, quite what I call quite a multi-dimensional soul energy. And yeah, with the Galactic Akashic Records readings, you when you go into the records, what happens for myself when I go in is the client's guides or an aspect of themselves will kind of greet me. And then they'll share and answer client questions. And it's always fascinating, because you're just filled with so much love, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that like the higher self is there and or an aspect of themselves if they're a parallel or multi-dimensional soul is there and share so much love and understanding about this is why this has happened because this is in relation to this lifetime or it's in relation to this lesson that you still need to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful response. And so, how do you see like a person's life changing after they gain this information in your own
Yeah,
experience or working with clients?
yeah, yeah. For me, as definitely one of the most enjoyable parts is asking clients afterwards because I always kind of reach out to see, what's happened for them. A lot of the feedback that comes back is that I'll have some clients who their gifts are more online.
Mm-hmm.
After the session, it kind of energetically opens up certain memories. They'll have certain dreams that will happen for them and kind of connects them deeper into who they are. As the weeks go on, it kind of integrates more into their life because
Mm-hmm.
with the dreams, with their energy, flow, they're more connected to their higher self. They'll come back and they'll say to me, you know, I don't know what's happened, but I feel like, I'm able to feel more balanced. Like I even though there's more energy kind of happening for me, I feel more at peace because I know what's going on and I'm just kind of following the journey. Some clients come back and they want to visit lifetimes,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll do like a past life regression session and, so that they can physically kind of, see it for themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another beautiful part because being able to see for yourself, even just one session just unlocks that part of the brain that remembers.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And it's interesting. In my case, I've done a lot of this like exploration and different lifetimes and
Yeah.
galaxies, and then also finding the balance with coming back to earth, coming into the body, the embodiment
Yeah.
process. And so,
Yeah.
how do you kind of balance when I know how easy it is sometimes to get pulled into that world of astral travel and
Mm,
seeing and traveling,
mm.
going to the other lifetimes and dimensions. And then, how do we balance like our practical earth life with having this incredible openness?
Yeah. 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 I definitely think it's something like, I mean, I'll put my hands up. I am still learning as I go as okay. So some days I need to get better at grounding, grounding the energy, being more in touch with, energetic grounding. What I found really helpful for myself, and I say this to clients all the times, is that protection, that energetic protection. I religiously, when I come home, I do my own Reiki practices just to ground the energy of the day that I've come into action with back into the earth. And before I leave the house, I always do that energetic shield just so that, the energy is being kind of transformed as I go through the day, which means that I feel slightly more calmer. I'm kind of coming from a less reactive space because I feel less kind of affected by the things that are happening. But just kind of connecting, and then meditating is another one that I find really helpful, just to kind of, we have to be part of the world 100%, but it's like being able to at least connect back with yourself to realize that, yes, I am part of the world. I am, still doing day-to-day life, enjoying my family, but, I'm still doing what I'm here to do, because that is part of the journey as well. But it is such a fine balance,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And some phases of life are definitely calling us more into one realm or another. And so being very present with that is really powerful.
Yeah.
And so I would also love to ask, what do you feel like, so for someone who maybe is new to this work, what signs do you think that can come up in your physical reality are calling you into maybe exploring a galactic past life? Are there any like physical manifestations that you notice that are calling people into that path?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely hear clients say to me, and I love it. They'll say to me, "Oh, I found you somehow," or "I heard something," or I'm really of that mindset that our guides will guide us to people who we're supposed to meet, who we're supposed to work with, who we're supposed to help each other on each other's journeys, really. I think the signs that a lot of clients will also talk about is whether they kind of feel like something's not right. Like they're not fitting in with other people. Things are not resonating that used to. I had one client kind of share, I'm not interested in the same things my friends are. They're talking about day-to-day life. I'm too busy looking at the stars, thinking, I wonder what's going on up there, or that sense of kind of disconnect through the everyday, and that calling that there's something more that I'm supposed to be doing. That's usually the biggest indicator. If you feel like there's something more, there's something more. Better than anyone else. There's something more.
Yes, I love that. Amazing. And so I'm curious, what were you doing before you said that you have this awakening that brought you in? And does it still come into what you're doing now?
So the work that I was doing, I mean, I'm still doing a lot of like charity work is what I was doing before. And I would say that it 100% ties into the work, because meeting people from all different walks of life gives you such a great perception point that somebody's experience is very different from someone else's. But even though it's all individual, it's all equally as important. That's what makes this a beautiful world, is that everybody has their part to play and everybody has something important to bring. At the moment, I am doing a lot more of the Galactic Akashic Records readings. I'm doing a lot more of the past life work. And I'm enjoying, all of the knowledge and understanding and wonderful people that I get to meet on their journeys. And that's kind of what I think I for my journey made the decision to do was kind of have that awakening to self-awareness, so that as I moved into this stage, I kind of felt more ready, because I think that was a big thing for me because of obviously the past life that I shared with you. I was very hesitant to even, unlock parts of myself, because I was just like, this has gone wrong in so many ways before. I don't really, feel like I'm ready. And I know my guides must have been looking at me and thinking, okay,
Let's get it moving.
okay. You realize, earthly lifetimes are a bit shorter now. We're not living to 500 anymore. But, I kind of realized at a certain point, I kind of need to get over it, because it's kind of not really about me. It's about everybody,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point, because, I'm sure that a lot of, light workers and starseeds can relate to that feeling of knowing that you have something to share with the world, knowing you have a gift, but this very real like trauma of being persecuted for that gift. And so how would you advise, or like what advice would you give to people overcoming that?
Yeah. The fear of being seen was my specific fear. I know everybody's is slightly different, isn't it? It's like you've got that fear of being perceived. You've got the fear of, as you said, being persecuted, because I've had some clients who were witches, and that kind of aspect, the witch wound, and then there's some that don't believe in themselves because of things that have happened in the past as well. I think everybody, believe it or not, actually knows what's the right thing for them to do, because I'll tell you how I overcome mine. I'm just laughing because it was just one of the most unique experiences I've ever had. So one of my friends was saying to me, let's meet up. But when we meet up, we like to do spiritual things. So she was like, I'm going to a sound bath. You should so come. And I was thinking, I don't really have the time. I was making all these excuses in my head. And then I was just like, just go, let's go. Because I haven't seen her in quite a while. So I went, because I think it was a weird situation where her friend wasn't able to go. So she had the spare ticket. And I went to the sound bath, and the practitioner who did the sound bath was amazing. Her voice was amazing. The way she used the tones was amazing. And it was during the full moon ritual. So it was all about leaving things there, So that's what I did. I'm laughing in my head because I remember thinking during the session, that sense of awareness that I am crying so much that these people must think I'm having a bit of a nervous breakdown as I am sat here, lying here, just like tears streaming down my face. And then at some point, as the sound bath was going on, I felt less self-conscious, and I just let everything kind of go and melt away. By the end, part of the ritual was sharing why you came, and what you're leaving. And I did. And I honestly, I left it there. I left the fear there, because I realized that I'm ready. This is okay. It's okay for you to kind of go through that healing, kind of recognition, and move forward. That's all it takes is being present in that moment where, the healing sound is so healing, as sound is so healing. Let it heal you, leave it there, And it was interesting because at the end, I spoke to the practitioner. I realized there was a connection. I recognized her, and my mind was like, I wasn't even supposed to come today. But that's literally it. So I would say to others, follow your intuition. It will show you where you need to be at the right time when you're ready. And if you're ready, just leave it there.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That's such an amazing story. And it's so interesting sometimes when we are getting these intuitive hits and then our rational mind can come up with all the
Yeah,
ways that
yeah,
that we don't want to do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mind definitely came up with all the different kind of excuses that day, and my mind was like, "No, just go," and I'm so glad I did, because from that day, it was just so funny. My friend was like, "You look like you've got a weight lifted off you," and I was like, "I feel it, I feel it."
Oh, beautiful. Wow, I feel, yeah, I feel this like galactic soul sister connection. We've
Yeah,
definitely known each other
yeah.
before.
I think that's the beauty, definitely, Saule. Like, being able to kind of recognize each other, even from across the room sometimes.
Across the world.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. Because honestly, listening to some of your podcasts, I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely recognize the soul. It's just such beautiful energy you have. So yeah, yeah.
Thank you. I feel the same way about you.
Thank you.
Nice. And so tell us about your mission here on Earth now, because I'm sure we all come here with our missions, and this is the most important time in like all of Earth history. So tell us a little bit what you'd like to share about your role here, your mission.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I say to my guides all the time, you know, that kind of, okay, so what are we doing? And the key thing that they say to me is, it's not a choice of one. It's a choice of many,
Yeah.
you know, and that's the thing that I love. Doing the Galactic Akashic Records readings, I always see clients with specific stars or specific, constellations within their charts and that kind of energy. I tend to get a lot of royal star, like angelic royal stars, like Regulus, Aldebaran, Antares, Fomalhaut, even clients. I tend to get a lot of clients who are from that energetic lifetime. And I think that's definitely to do with the way that the earth is ascending. So I'm aware of that type of mission going on for a lot of souls. I've got, a couple of royal stars in my chart. So um, I'm aware of that. And then, for me, I know that I came here from somewhere else, another galaxy. I'm still trying to understand it, to be honest. It's something that came up last year when I did a beyond quantum healing session. And, my higher self kind of shared how I entered this galaxy. It's actually on my YouTube page, because I found it so interesting, because I was just like, there must be others like me. And it's something I'm still learning. I've met a couple who have come from the Shapely Attractor. They came through that galaxy here. So I'm still learning what that means. So I know that's another mission that, as time goes on, that's what I will continue to see. And then the multidimensional aspects, like, the amount of clients I meet who are from or have parallel lifetimes in other galaxies, like the Andromeda Galaxy, like Super Galactic Center, they've come through. Like, there's just so much going on, that I always say to clients that we're so multidimensional and we don't always realize it, because of the lifetimes that we've had in so many different star systems. So there's always lots of different missions going on. What I do know about the angelics is, those for, Archangel Michael, Aldebaran, they've got quite a lot of leadership roles, kind of stepping forward, teaching a lot more information about higher understandings and principles on Earth. So those are kind of those who are kind of going to be leading the way in terms of this is what we need to do to kind of have new earth on earth, to embody that frequency on earth. The Regulus clients are the amazing healers. I mean, I never knew there were so many different types of energy healing until I met all of these different, angelic Regulus clients.
Wow.
There's, I was aware of obviously Reiki, but I met one client who had knew about 10 different forms of energy healing, and it blew my mind because I was just like, there was even things to do with the elements going on there as well. So, that's just one aspect. The formal halt clients are, again, they're the singers, they're the ones who are able to kind of share high understanding through spoken word, through music, very gifted speakers. They're the ones that, even I'd arguably say maybe like yourself, Saule, I'm looking at you. So definitely they're the ones that, are sharing, the higher understanding, the higher tones, the light codes, all of that amazing information through, whether it be music, spoken word, or their voice, is how they are sharing that on earth at this time. And then Antares, oh my goodness, the warriors. I really feel for them at the moment because of the war and the conflict that's happening. That's their land. That's, the land that they are, connected to over there, Egypt, Iraq, all of the, dare I say the word, stargates over there. They're all connected. Yeah, they're all connected to that. I really feel for them because it's so hard, because it's like their mission is going to continue to unfold as things kind of stabilize out. Right now, what we're seeing is the conflict. But I was saying to another practitioner, I always find it so fascinating, and I'm going to say something, I guess, which is quite controversial. But it's like they're both fighting over land that's not theirs, which I just find so amusing because it's like, I understand, but you realize that the indigenous people, or the people, the blood of the people who were originally on that land is not those who are there now. So you're both fighting, like America, and everyone's fighting over something that is technically not theirs, which is very amusing because I think we all recognize it's not really about the land. It's about the tech within the land.
Yes.
So.
Tell us more, please, if you feel comfortable.
I won't go too far into it, but it's definitely something that I've seen come up for a lot of clients is that resonance that, this is just the beginning, the war is just the beginning. So what it is basically that friction point of kind of showing the world there's more to what is going on. The frequency is rising. More people are becoming more awake to what is going on. But what is really happening is that we're starting to see the divide of power, of wanting to hold on to something. It's like, I'm sure you saw about Egypt and the controversy at the beginning where they were trying to say that there's nothing under the pyramids, when they did the SAR scan and they were like, no, there's stuff down there. There's something more to the pyramids. There's something more underneath the pyramids. And then now they've obviously shared the pyramids aren't actually pyramids. They're more or less obelisks. So it's like all of that kind of information about, as I said, that land, Antares is kind of responsible for over there. And we'll just keep seeing more and more disclosures coming forward about what we've been told, what we understand is not what it is. Yeah. So as we keep moving forward, to the more disclosures, the more information, the more understanding, it will kind of come to a certain point. And I'm waiting to see what happens for them, because as I said, those who are connected to that land are the warriors. They're the fighters. They're, the ones who, kind of stand for truth. They're the ones who would have been fighting with the Nephilim back in the days. That's that order, So I find it really interesting that we're kind of coming into this period where we're starting to see more and more information being disclosed. And I guess we will see what happens, as time goes on, especially as, everyone's been talking about more contacts, potentially happening end of this year to next year. So, yeah.
Wow, this is fascinating.
So I went off into a tangent there.
Oh, right. Yeah. Love to know more. I feel like you have a lot to share. I would love to know if you have anything to say about, so we were talking about stargates, and if you could maybe share a little bit more about what exactly that is, what exactly that means, and how that is coming into play right now with what you mentioned about these wars, because all of these wars are happening in very specific locations.
Places. Yeah. I find it really interesting because at the beginning of my journey, that was probably one of the first things I came across was the information on what stargates are. So they are portals. There are 12. And they are all over the earth. I'm saying there's 12. There's more than 12, but the ones that I tend to kind of talk about are the main ones that, lead to other either star systems or places in specific. Stargate 10, which is the one that they're kind of fighting over at the moment in that area. Egypt has their own as well, which I think is number 4. It's interesting to me because for a land to have 2 in relatively, close proximity, it kind of says something about the land. So I always find that area very interesting. There are more dotted around. Some are a little bit more like there's a few, off the coast of America as well. But I think it all relates back to the world was very different and it was placed very different. It was made up very different. Obviously, there's that understanding that once upon a time there was Atlantis, once upon a time there was Lemuria. The land was laid out very differently. And therefore some of the stargates are probably displaced in a different region or slightly, underground, or they're, hidden, basically. The thing with the stargates, though, is that when we think about energy and when we think about the land, there's grids all over this planet. That's what makes this planet amazing, is that the energetic ley line grids connect everything. So if you think about, if you pour enough negative energy into a ley line grid, the effect that will eventually have on the land and the stargate, right? So if you continue to, like what they're doing, have that negative energy, the war, the people crying, people dying, all of this negative energy, those who are creating, say, that kind of energy will continue to be in charge of that land, of that stargate, of those particular grids or the lines connecting to it. But in order to change that, it kind of takes the collective, which is us, all of us, kind of coming to a certain understanding and not feeding into it, which is really hard.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
hard to do. It's hard not to be, affected by that because we're human, we
Mm-hmm.
care. But that's ultimately how they keep control,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think we'll continue to kind of see and understand as a collective, is the power that we hold as souls. We're very, very powerful. You
Yeah.
know, if we all thought a certain way and had our energetic frequencies in a certain way, we're harder to control,
Yeah.
you know? So I think that's what we're starting to see is happening for the collective now. As more people become awake and realize that we're being kind of manipulated in certain ways in order to
Mm-hmm.
control our energetic frequencies so that they can maintain control,
Mm-hmm.
things will hopefully start to change. But,
Yeah.
there's many timelines that exist, Saule. We'll see which one we walk towards.
Yeah, I choose to believe that ultimately the light will win inevitably, as it feels like that is the path
Yeah.
for Earth, and that's our faith. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways where how we get there, how we move through this period of time, and in some moments it's very exciting, in some moments it's very scary. And so, how would you recommend for people to stay connected to, what you're saying? If we as a collective are maintaining a certain frequency and we are shifting the earth, because things that they can't control, for example, like solar flashes that are activating the consciousness of the earth, that are
There you go.
elevating the
There you
frequency,
go.
like the whole, it just feels like this whole like God is, God's power and the power of the elements and our destiny on earth is so much more than this little like matrix, false matrix cabal that they've created.
Yeah.
And so, often it's very normal for us to flip flop between those mindsets of being like, I'm connected to everything, I'm going to be okay. And then seeing the reality of what's happening. And for a lot of people who are very much affected and going through this trauma of being in the middle of that, it's
Yeah.
like, how do we hold that as humans, as people who are maybe witnessing it, and
Yeah.
people who may also be affected by it or have family members and loved ones
Yeah.
affected by it?
Yeah. Yeah. As you said, it is so hard because it's, as I said, we're human. We feel things on so many different levels. We're very empathetic. But what I would say is it's frequency, especially energetic frequency, is such an amazing thing because we can control our energetic frequency, but we just don't know it because we haven't been taught, right? We weren't taught from the very beginning how powerful we are. And what I would say to people is kind of learning more about how powerful you are and how protecting yourself, like I was saying, energetically, grounding more, and trusting your intuition when it's telling you certain things is really, really a good baseline to kind of start at. It's okay, so if I'm protecting my energy, I'm transmuting my energy by grounding it down into the earth, especially with all of the things that are going on. By you transmuting your energy, it's actually helping the grids.
Yeah.
We don't realize it, but we are. We're helping the grids. I'm, kind of reminding the grids that, us as an energetic being, we understand, we know, and we're here to play our part in this, these times coming forward. Listening to podcasts like yours, like others, just like really kind of educating yourself on what is happening and getting that real confirmation that it's not in your head. This is definitely a thing. We
Yeah.
are experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
And then, and I say this to my family all the time because they look at me sometimes like, why are you so zen? I'm like, because the only person I can control on this earth is me. I can only control me. I
Yeah.
can't control what they're doing. But if I play my part and I do what I'm supposed to do, it will make a change. It always does. It doesn't feel like it because we don't always see what's happening in real time. But the effects, the aftershock, the after effects, you know, if you weren't doing your podcast, I would never meet you. If I wasn't doing my Galactic Akashic Records readings, clients wouldn't, have had the opportunity to have that experience. If we all play our parts, we can help make changes, and that's the only bit that matters. Because if I don't play my part, that means, I don't know, say Michael doesn't get the opportunity to learn something, or Julie doesn't get the opportunity to understand. Do you see what I mean? Other people don't get the chance. It doesn't mean they never get the chance to come into contact with it. It just means that their journey's delayed because I'm not playing my part.
Wow. Yes. Ooh. That's some big wisdom right there. Yeah.
Thank you. It's taken me a while to come to that understanding because, as I said, I still have those moments, where you're like, really? Is that what you're doing? And then my mind's like, yeah, that's what he's choosing to do. And I'm like, okay. Well, I'm going to go back to what I'm doing over here because it's not making sense to me. And my brain's like, it doesn't need to because he's playing his part. It doesn't mean that it's a good part, but he's playing his part.
Yeah. No, it's so amazing to see like the interconnectedness of all things and things that we may even think are small that make a profound impact in someone's life. And then that impact continues to impact others. Yeah. And so it's such a beautiful reminder to all the listeners or people who are coming across this and thinking, oh, maybe, I shouldn't start my podcast, or I shouldn't write that book, or I shouldn't. But it's like, you'd have no idea what you're gonna do by sharing this.
Exactly. I was reminded actually by another practitioner. They were saying to me, if we think about the amount of star seeds that came here, in comparison to those on the earth, it's a small proportion. I think the number is 144,000 souls, like here out of the earth. But the reason why we all chose to come here at this time is because we all have something to share that will help the earth. Yeah. That's it, and if we all do what we came to do, we will make the impact. But if we don't, it just means that it's taking slightly longer. I mean, it's taken slightly longer anyway, but, even more, and that's why we had the help from the planets. We've had the help from all of these beautiful stars, the powerful alignment. I was saying to a family member the other day, I even wrote a blog actually saying about it. It didn't escape me that they chose to do certain bombings on a day where there are 6 planets in alignment. Yeah. And we also had a blood moon coming up. It didn't escape me that because even they know how powerful planetary alignments, how powerful the moon is, all of those kind of energies. Yeah, they know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so we also need to step into our power in remembering
100%.
This.
100%.
And taking advantage of those moments the best we can, and not being sucked into what they're trying to suck us into.
Exactly. Because again, I'll say it again, the only person you can control is yourself. If we were all doing certain things on that day, who knows? Not saying that I can predict what would have happened, but if we're all stepping into what we're meant to do, that's the only bit that matters in the equation. And even when I've been in the Akashic Records, that's what all the guides say. It's kind of like that guidance for an individual is so important, because we forget, the veil of forgetfulness makes us forget here how powerful we are, the lifetimes we've had, the things that we've been able to do. I've seen clients stand there and move, like trees with the wind because they were elemental. I've seen clients, move water in certain aspects. We have all of those abilities. I've even seen people on Instagram, tapping into their telekinesis gifts. We're in this age now. People, have the abilities, realizing it. All it takes is belief and practice and remembrance. That's it.
Amazing. What a powerful message. Wow. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Amazing. And so where can people find you? Where can people connect with you more?
Yeah, I've got a website on renewyouralignment.com, and then also I've got the YouTube channel that you can have a look at some of the videos, especially if you're one of the royal stars. There's a video specifically, sharing about that. And if you're a super galactic center soul as well. But yeah, I'm on Renew Your Alignment on YouTube as well. So you can connect to me on either platform.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This was so incredible.
It's my pleasure meeting you, Saule. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure as well. Thank you.
Wake up, rise up and greet the sun. I'm grateful for another one. Breath running through me, I'm truly blessed, and everything's working out for me. It's truly a story I tell myself each morning. I'm beautiful and worthy. I'm safe and truly deserving. Speak it into existence and release your resistance. Speak it into existence and release your resistance. Wake up, rise up. Wake up, rise up. Wake up, rise up. Wake up, rise up and greet the sun. I'm grateful for another one. Abundance gathers like fields of flowers, grown with my two hands and tears they showered. Meditating, congregating with my soul's truth.